Hello, welcome back to Beacon Space in Unrestricted Lorefare. As always, I'm your host, Xavier, as we get to get started with today's faction turn. So, I don't think I need to give a huge spiel on what Beacon Space is, given this was a combo with the lore stream, but it is just a sci-fi setting being created by you all, and thanks to all factions for contributing a turn for this upcoming faction turn. Oh, is the music still a little loud? Okay, I'll turn it down. I probably need to readjust the balance I'm hearing it at. There we go. I think the OBS instance has just decided to eternally make me quieter, even though I keep bumping up the gain. So, hopefully that resolves itself out, let's see what happens. So, the first thing to note is there has been some minor improvements to the map. There's an outstanding request to make constellations display better on the map, which I have as in-progress work, but I have not had a chance to test that and deploy it yet into the production environment. But there has been a change made. You might see this new tag icon that looks like it has an M in it on Tellus there. I don't know how well it's coming over to the stream, but the faction planet mechanical tags, I'm going to start that sentence over. The planet mechanical tags are now available on this display. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of wonkiness with them to accommodate the larger ones, such as the one on Tellus, that it means the planets with a super small one, like Moss here, which just adds 1 faction credit per turn, still need a larger bit of space there. I can't seem to manage to get that to adjust as nicely as I would want to automatically. The little section that covers up where the planets and moons that are in orbit starts to cover the mechanical tag, and something is just fighting in my CSS, and I know enough of the basics to get things working in that, but not enough at this point to debug it. It will take additional time to figure that out. So for now, we're just going to deal with the slightly awkward empty space, and that way it doesn't break for planets like Tellus. But otherwise, this information is now present here, so that's at least more useful than it was previously. And you don't just have to refer to the spreadsheet for that bit of information. That's, I think, the biggest pre-stream, pre-turn announcement to get through. As always, I'll have some other announcements at the end of the turn, but we will get to those as we get there. In the meantime, we need to go through our factions in their turn orders. So let's head on over to the Factions Turns tab. And I think I added turns for these. Yeah, I added the columns, but not the entries. Oh, I'm missing a transfer. There was another money was sent to the Assembled Commonwealth. Okay, I'll update the trades after this stream. I will make a note. But we get started today with the Aguamala Syndicate going first in turn order. They are continuing to keep their Blood the Enemy goal that has been established over the past turn, or turns as it may be, and they are going to collect their faction income. That didn't post correctly. Yeah, they're going to collect their faction income of 5 faction credits, and then they will be taking the attack action. I think I need to zoom in on this page, don't I, so people can actually read it. Am I zoomed in at all? I'm not there. Okay, I think I need to do that. Hopefully that's a little bit better. It's sort of awkwardly off in the corner for these columns, but that should be alright. So they have some movement to take care of, but let's give them their money first as we get started on this turn. So Aguamala Syndicate collects their income of 5 faction credits, bringing them up to a balance of 28 faction credits. Then they're going to be moving 2 strike fleets that are currently located in orbit on the planet of Dacia. This one here, the Viridescent Fangs, and the Armada of the Wild Expanse. These are both going to move into the empty hex located at 0710, where there happens to be a blockade fleet of the Tahora Fai. And the other strike fleet on Dacia is also moving. The Rites of Spring, as was just referenced in the lore stream, is actually going to be moving off Dacia and going in a different direction, heading back towards the empty hex 1010. So those 3 movements will cost them 3 faction credits, so that'll take their balance down to 25 faction credits. Then let's go move these on the street. So the Rites of Spring is moving to 1010, which the spreadsheet is going to yell at me because this location doesn't currently exist, but that's fine. It's a Starship asset. They can get run into empty space. These other 2 are moving to 0710, which does currently have an asset there. Now that those assets have moved, the 2 assets located now in 0710 are going to attack that Tahorafai faction in that hex. There's only a blockade fleet there to defend with, and the Warlike tag is being used on the first attack here. There's only 1 potential defense, though, given the asset that is in the location. So let's set up for these attacks. So straight fleets are force versus force on the roll. So the Agumon Syndicate has a +4, the Tahorafai have a +6. Let's head on over into roll 20, and we'll, I believe as normal, roll for the defender first. So we'll roll a d10 +6 for them, resulting in a 9 for the defensive roll. So the attackers with a d10 +4 have resulted in a 13, so this attack is successful. So a strike fleets deal, I believe it's 2d6 damage on a successful attack. They do indeed, so let's roll that 2d6 damage, resulting in 8 damage on the first attack to the blockade fleet. So Tahorafai has taken some damage there. Right here, that takes this down. Oop, that's the cost column. Ah, that destroys the blockade fleet exactly, so that is now at 0 HP. Okay, the other thing we need to keep track of is there was a Blood the Enemy active for the Agumon Syndicate, so 8 damage dealt will complete their goal, taking them up to 14. We'll handle that in a moment. There is a second attack here, but we just discovered that this asset has died, so there will not be the need to roll that second attack. And I didn't even use Warlike because they beat it on the first roll. Look at me being incredibly underprepared and not following my own rules that I know I said. I will go roll for completeness, though, what that other one might have been, because they could have rolled better. Nope. They did not. That was only a 7. Okay, so attack successful. Dealt 8 damage to blockade fleet. Right. They also completed their goal, so that earns them +2 XP. Let's go award that to them, as I'm sure they are apt to be earning experience, bringing them up to 8, clearing that goal and clearing that marker. Nice. That, I believe, wraps up their turn. Let me just double check. That's everything I've got notes for. So, we get to move on to the second faction in today's turn order. That brings us to the Starlit Court. In fact, this turn, who are second, keeping quite at the top of the charts, but still pretty high up there. As they get started today, they are going to be spending some experience to upgrade their force stat to a 6. So they are going to be spending 12 of their experience. That is all that they currently have to take their force from a 5 to a 6. This does increase their HP, as we see, and it does also increase their income, bringing their stat-based income up to 5, granting them 6 faction credits this turn, rather than the original 5. That takes them up to 47 credits as their faction balance. They're then going to be taking the Seize Planet action this turn. and they are going to be seizing the planet of Dacia, which we just saw in the previous turn. So the Agumala Syndicate were asked if they would oppose, because that was a requirement that I would inform them, even though they wouldn't be present and actually able to. They have no assets there, so they cannot oppose. Tohora Fai also has assets located on this planet. They have a distorted lens and a strike fleet. They have opted not to oppose this siege, so this siege gets started without any opposition. So the Starlit Court has siege of Dacia at 1 out of 3 and this turn. They did include an attack order with this to attack the Agumala Syndicate on Dacia, but there are no assets of the Agumala Syndicate located on this planet at this time, so that attack falls flat. Then, however, afterwards, they are going to be moving an asset off of Dacia, and so they're going to be moving a strike fleet of theirs that is located on Dacia to the planet of Daine. So let's clear their purchasing sickness from the distorted lens asset they received last turn, find their strike fleet on Dacia, which I believe is this one, yes it is, and it is moving to Daine, and that will cost them 1 faction credit. They are landing on a pirate homeworld as well, so that will cost them an additional credit, bringing them down to 45, and giving the Tohora Fai 1, taking them up to 3 faction credits. That resolves the Starlit Court's turn, and with that, we get to move on over to our next faction, which, having just collected 1 faction credit, it's the Tohora Fai's turn. They're coming in 3rd this faction turn, and they are going to, much the same as the Agumala Syndicate, keep their goal from last term, of Blood of the Enemy. It was existing. They will, however, be collecting far more income, bringing them up by 11 faction credits to take their balance up to a total of 14. They're going to be taking the Buy Asset action to purchase a new post-tech infantry asset on the world of Saren. That is out over here in the gateway system of 510, and it's of note that this world has the mechanical tag that military unit assets built on this world by the planetary government controller, which the Tohora Fai are, cost 1 less faction credit, which is relevant to this purchase. So we'll find the Tohora Fai section and go and purchase an asset for them. They are somewhere around here. We'll go ahead and add a row there for the Tohora Fai to purchase this post-tech infantry. It's on a world of their own, so of course they won't be opposing their own build. That would be a rather funny option to do. So this was purchased on Saranin, and let's drag that down so that the abilities fill in. So, fixing the HP up there, the normal cost of this asset is 8. Accounting for the planet, that means this only cost 7, taking the Tohora Fai's balance down to 7 faction credits. Let's go appropriately add the purchased sickness on to that asset. Fantastic. The other options that the Tohora Fai are going to take this turn is they have some assets to move around. So there is a strike fleet of theirs currently located on Dacia that is going to be moving to Daine, and that's going to cost them 1 faction credit. They don't need to pay their own pirate tax for arriving on their own planet, as funny as that might be. Then the other thing that is going to take place is a covert shipping of theirs that is located somewhere around here. Yes, there it is, on Daine. The Rays of Light is going to activate to move a distorted lens from Dacia to Saranin. So the planet of Dacia has that distorted lens on it. This covert shipping is going to relocate that over to Saranin for 1 faction credit. Also a valid move. Let's take care of that on this. Yep, this one right here, and it's moving over to Saranin. So those 2 movements cost 2 faction credits, so let's go charge them for that appropriately, taking them down to 5 faction credits. They're then going to take the option to modify their charts, trying to modify the atmosphere on Rosebud to breathable mix. And this uses the modification point system, so this has a base difficulty of 11, and they get to roll their d10 plus their constellation bonus, which happens to be a 7. They've rolled an 11 exactly, so that gives them 1 modification point to make do with. So let's check on this planet of Rosebud and see how it's currently doing. So Rosebud currently finds itself to have a corrosive and invasive atmosphere. They could move 1 step on the track towards breathable mix then. So rather than making this decision on stream, we will just note that they have succeeded, and they can let me know if they would rather be corrosive or invasive rather than corrosive and invasive. So I'm sure I will get told that by the end within like the next day or so, which is perfectly fine. So I'll just add a note to their faction turn that they did succeed at this. Succeed, and that way we can get updated on what they would like to change this planet to. Finally, the last role we have is to lure the whale, where they're going to try to guide the white whale to Serenin. So let's see what happens with this this roll. So this is a roll off between the whale and Tahor Fayi. So we'll roll for the whale first, rolling for the defender this faction turn. Rolling a 10, the attacker, or aggressor perhaps, I don't know exactly how I would phrase it in this case, of the Tahor Fayi have only rolled a 7, so unfortunately they are not able to influence the whale this turn. It will remain where it is on Dine, taking its own action as it so chooses. That concludes, however, the Tahor Fayi's turn. So they will complete their goal, which they completed last turn, but not at a time to claim the XP, taking them up to 3 experience points. Having wrapped that up, let's move on to our next faction, the Larkspur Combine, who find themselves in the position to go 4th this turn. They're going to continue their fairly standard trend of taking the inside enemy territory goal, only to immediately complete it on this turn. But before we move some assets around to accommodate that, let's give them their 6 faction credits, bringing them up to a total of 10. They're then going to be rolling for 4 post-tech industry assets, not infantry. So if we take a look at the asset details page, as is normal, we're going to be rolling some D6s for them. And I believe it will be on a, depending on what is rolled, will be the amount of faction credits that is earned or lost. So let's go ahead and roll these 4d6 for these 4 post-tech industries. That is a 2, a 1, a 3, and a 6. Well, the 1 and a 6 cancel each other out so that they are just each making 1 faction credit. I believe a 2 and a 3 earns just 1 faction credit each. So that results in a total of 4 faction credits earned. Not too shabby. That will take the balance of the Larkspur Combine up to 14 for this turn. We're then going to have to roll for 2 party machine assets, which if we take a look on here, I can also find the information. These party machines are able to roll a 1d6, and on a 4+, I believe, they will gain 1 faction credit. So let's go roll for those, and of course, to appropriately allow this other one to roll, we can clear off the purchase sickness status that currently ails it. So 2d6 rolled for these 2 party machines, a 5 and a 1 will earn 1 additional faction credit this turn for the Larkspur Combine, taking their balance up to 15. They're then going to go immediately spend 4 of this earned balance, taking them back down to 11 to move some of their strike fleets around. So they have 2 strike fleets on Menkaraniti that are moving to Idarast. The 1 strike fleet located on Idarast is finding itself moving over to Menkaraniti. And the strike fleet on Icaros is moving itself over to Heliocytus. Those movements completed, they've completed their goal, taking them up to 10 experience points. That completes the Larkspur Combine's turn. So we get to have a fun new faction that gets to take a turn now. As I'm going to take a quick drink, but we get to move on to the Tellus Council. Coming in 5th of this faction turn is the newest faction to take an action, taking advantage of the council rules as it was created last turn. 5th, for this turn, the Tellus Council, according with agreement by both of the current council members, is taking the following actions. They're going to earn their income of 3 faction credits, as only 2 members does not incur a financial charge quite yet, and they do get the income from the planet of Tellus. They're then going to take the buy action to purchase a harvester's asset on that world. So let's award them their money. So they're going to go up to 7, and then the harvester's asset is going to cost them 2, so that will take them down to 5 faction credits. So if we take a look over here, we can find Tellus Council, I believe, has a BOI way up here. We'll add a row in for it, and get to add them their harvester's asset, costing them 2 faction credits, and hopefully they'll get to enjoy it in coming turns. So that comes in with Purchase Sickness, as is normal, and that wraps up the council's turn for the moment. Let me do it this way so that row gets its color back. Fantastic. That's the end of the Tellus Council's turn, and we'll move on to the Children of the Vein, who find themselves in 6th this turn. Alright, Children of the Vein coming in 6th. They are going to be taking... did I miss this? Let me just double check. Yeah, they are going to be taking the Blood, the enemy goal that I believe they may already have had. Let's double check. Yes, they do. So it's the same existing goal that other factions have had this turn. They are 14 out of 16 on it. Hopefully they'll get a chance to complete it this turn. But let's give them their income, taking them up to a balance of 14 on this faction turn. That will then allow them to spend it on a couple of actions in the upcoming second. Alright, there we go. So, they're going to be taking the free action to activate their extended theater on Moss to move the bank that is currently located on Tellus up to Heliocytus. This movement costs 1 faction credit. They're then going to activate the new TCGI effect 3 times to heal the Pre-Tech Infantry Bioshell Division Tribute on Tellus, so that will cost them some amount of money that we'll go check the rules for in just a moment to go over that on stream. And then they're going to be taking the attack action. So let's resolve the easy option first of the movement, taking them down to 13 faction credits, excuse me. And then go move a bank of theirs from Tellus to Heliocytus. Now, I'm going to use a document that will cover a little bit more detail in just a moment at the end of this faction stream, but let's take a look at the Tellus Council. So the Ruins and Interactions section down here allows members of the Council to activate one of the following effects on their turn for free. For non-members or activations of another ability, factions have to pay some additional money. So, having chosen to use the once per activation heal 1 HP on an asset on Tellus by the Children of the Vein, that will cost them only 2 faction credits, as they get 1 free activation per turn. This will give that money over to the council, so we'll have to charge them 2 faction credits to move that over. I do need to go double check the faction tags for the Tellus Council as well, so we can see if there are any interactions there. So first off though, let's charge the Children of the Vein their 2 faction credits, bringing them down to 11, bringing the Tellus Council back up to 7. And let's go heal this Children of the Vein asset on Tellus before I forget to do that as well. This is Tribute, correct? Which one of those? That's you. So you go up to 14 HP. And if we go take a look at the faction tags, we can see that the investment analyst and speculative advisors are the two tags. They don't affect either of these roles that the council Tellus planet gives, but we should keep an eye on them because they could be important going forward. If the ability to reroll the faction generation die had been used, the council would earn some extra money. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on these as we move forward. I would ask if you know you're taking an action that will trigger these to try to include it in your turns if you submit them. But that way, I will try my best to double check and remember, but that way it's all accounted for appropriately. But now we get to go through the attack action. So there are lots of assets attacking here. So let's get started with the first one. The Children of the Vein are attacking Amelhart Institute on the planet of Tellus, starting off with their Grav Tank formation. So this is a Force v Force attack, so the force of the Children of the Vein is 6 and Amelhart Institute's is 4. We'll continue the trend of rolling the defender first, as I've done today, so a d10 plus 4 establishes an 11 as the defensive die. A d10 plus 6 with the option to re-roll ones once, given the fanatical tag, will be applied. That will result in a 10, which is unfortunately a loss to the defending asset of the Amelhart Institute, which I don't think I've said, but there's only one asset on Tellus that the Amelhart Institute currently has, and that is a commodities broker. It's this one right here. So that commodities broker has managed to defend one attack. Its counter damage is 1d8, so let's roll that here, dealing 7 counterattack damage to the Grav Tanks. So, Grav Tanks of the Children of the Vein, here it is, that takes them down to 7 out of 14 HP, and let's mark this over here. So, attack failed, 7 counterattack damage from commodities broker. That moves on then to the Retech Infantry making an attack. They're also a Force v Force attack, so the rolls will be the same. This is not the Bioshell Infantry Tribute, though, which I believe is this one. So it is Anaphora that is making this first attack. They're the one at full HP, so that makes sense. So this will be another set of the same rolls. So let's roll the Defender first in the same vein as we did last time, rolling a d10 plus 4. That is another 11. Man, I must really like 11s. Was there a blip somewhere? I've just checked chat and I noticed there was somebody saying small blips in the internet. If somebody lets me know if you think you missed something, I can, okay. Weird. And then Indifferent, they got 4 for the post-tech industries. Okay. The 2 and the 3 earned 1 faction credit, the 6 earned 2... And then it would have lost 1. So maybe it was 3. I'll go double check that in a second. Let me roll this attacker die after I've managed to distract myself long enough. So this will be a d10 rerolling ones once plus 6. That's a 15. That is definitely a hit. The attack dice on this is a 2d8. If I remember correctly, yep, it is. So let's roll the 2d8 attack dice for attacking damage of 8 to the commodities broker owned by the Amelhart Institute. Chat can just keep me honest and we'll go back and check the income on those post-tech infantries in just a second. Tell us right here. That leaves the commodities broker with 2 HP as it failed that attack. Let's go make a note. Attack success. 8 damage. 2 commodities broker. The next attacking asset then is the strike fleet located on Tellus. This will be the same rolls. So the defender's roll of a d10 plus 4 results in a 13, and the attacker's roll results in a 9. So that is a failure of a defense. So a 1d8 counterattack damage is applied for 6 damage to the Children of the Vein Strike Fleet, taking that down to 2 HP. So let's make a note of that. Attack failed. 6 counter attack damage from Commodities Broker. And then finally, the Retech Infantry Tribute will make their attack. So the same set of rolls. The defender's roll of a d10 plus 4 is an 11. Man, Amelhart really liked 11s today. The attackers have rolled, a great success though, with a 16, resulting in a 2d8 of damage, which will almost certainly destroy this asset. 14 is way more damage than they needed. They only needed to do 2. So, unfortunately, 14, 2 damage, 2 commodities broker. The Amelhart asset is entirely destroyed, bringing itself down to 0 HP. Let's go ahead and delete this row from the entries. Fantastic. I should go appropriately account for they dealt definitely 2 damage. They dealt closer to 10 in total to destroy that asset, but it did take all 4 attacks. That does bring them to the end of their turn, though, so they'll complete their goal, finishing up Blood the Enemy to earn 2 XP. So let's go update this to say complete goal, and give them their 2 XP, as we've already done. Now that we finished up the Children of the Veins turn, let's hop on back to double check that Larkspur math I don't think I can add, is essentially what happened there. Someone is, I believe, you are correct then, a -1 +1 +1 +2 should only be 3 faction credits, not 4. So that's fine. Larkspur Cobblard should only have 10 rather than 11 faction credits. Does that math seems like it checks out with chat? I'll double check. I think that should be what it is then. Cool. I'll double check after the stream as well, but that sounds correct after it's been pointed out to me. So that brings us on then to our 7th faction this faction turn, Ascent, who will collect their income of 6 faction credits, bringing them up to a balance of 55. A commanding lead for the moment. They're going to be taking the Expand Influence action and turn and goal, as is a standard coordination to do. Coming in, not 6th, they were 7th this turn. They're going to be using a Surveyors that is currently located way up here in the planet northwest on planet CU to, sorry, I can't spell. It's a smuggler's asset. That's not the surveyor's asset. Regardless of the two, they're going to be building a BOI up here. Nobody's here to oppose, so they can do so without any problems. So let's go grant them that 1 HP BOI, costing them 1 faction credit. Fantastic. 1 HP. I guess the cost could still be the asterisk, right? Fantastic. Let's charge them for that, bringing their balance down to 54 faction credits. The other thing they're going to do is explore a ruin. So they get to do that as part of the exploration system. So they're going to be rolling. Oh, that's right, I put it as a special action. They get to roll a d10. They're not spending any faction credits on this roll. So let's just see what they get. So a d10, that is flat. That is a 4. I believe that is just a +1 to the ruin clock on the planet of CU. That takes the ruin up to a 4 out of 8 progress-wise. Halfway there. Congratulations to them. They've completed their goal. Let's go give them 1 XP for doing so. That takes their XP up to 1. And their seize of the planet progresses to 2 out of 3. Up next, then, for this faction turn is the Amelhart Institute. They are going to be taking the buy asset action after they collect their 6 faction credits of income. So let's give that to them since we're on this page, taking their balance up to a total of 44 faction credits. And then they're going to be purchasing a demagogue asset. Now, originally, they had an additional discount from the commodities broker on Tellus, but it has now been destroyed, so unfortunately their discount is now only 7 faction credits, because that one had 6 faction credit discount on them, meaning their final purchase price for this demagogue on Ingrid is actually 13 faction credits. Either way, that's not the end of the world. They can still go ahead and purchase this demagogue asset. They have the stats and capability to do so. So 13 will be the cost. Yep, actually gonna want this though. Taking them up to 10 HP, and this is located on Ingrid. Let's give it the purchase sickness status, and then we can move on with our day. That just means the only thing left to do is to charge them for this asset. So the Amelhart Institute goes down to 31 faction credits, and we should clear out their stacked discount of 7 FC. That completes their turn, and we get to move on to the next faction in our faction turn this time. That'll move us on over to the Assembled Commonwealth, then, who are going to collect their income of 5 faction credits, bringing them up to a balance of 14. They are going to be taking the Use Asset ability action this turn, not taking any goal as a result of that, as they take this 9th slot. So, the first thing they're going to be doing is activating all 4 of their commodities brokers, none of which have an existing discount. So that's going to be rolling them 4d8 to earn them a total discount of 13 with a 5, 4, 1, and a 3. They are then going to be activating their pre-tech logistics asset, currently located on Idarast, to build a strike fleet. They are going to use the commodities broker discount, so the strike fleets normally cost 12 faction credits. The 1.5 times cost for the pre-tech logistics takes it up to 18. The CB discount rolled here is a 13. That would take the cost down to 5. However, the minimum purchase price for this asset has to be only half the original cost, or 6 faction credits. So 6 faction credits later, the Assembled Commonwealth have earned themselves a strike fleet. The other thing they get to do as we get through their turn is get rid of the purchase sickness for this grab tank formation that they purchased last turn on Malaga. So they're buying a strike fleet this time though on Idarast, where that is co-located with their pre-tech logistics asset right here. This asset still has purchase sickness though, and that will be a thing for this turn. Before I go charge them their 6 faction credits for this, I'm going to do one additional roll, or one additional movement. They are going to be moving a surveyor's asset of theirs that is currently located on planet O to Coritas, costing them 1 faction credit as well. So that's a total charge this turn of 7 faction credits. That takes the Assembled Commonwealth's balance down to 7 faction credits. They have one final request this turn. They would wish to attempt the map modification of their own, trying to modify the population of the planet in 1213, Coritas, to bringing that from its outpost status to millions. That is a difficulty 11 roll, and it is a d10 plus their constellation bonus of 4 they are choosing to contribute. No faction credits on this roll. A 9, unfortunately, is not a success for them, though, so no change this turn. Failure 9 versus DC 11. Well, that wraps up the Assembled Commonwealth's turn, though, allowing us to move on to the Concord of Mutual Disdain. Concord of Mutual Disdain will collect their 7 faction credit income then, taking them up to a balance of 41 faction credits. They're going to be taking the Expand Influence action on the world 1718, where they happen to have a strike fleet located. What's the name of this system? LXXVI? Nice. Planet BU there. They're going to be using that strike fleet. There's nobody else present here, so they're going to be able to get their 1 HP BOI without any problems. They're then also going to be taking a map modification action of their own. But we will roll that here in just a second. So they are 10th this faction turn. And they are the last player-controlled faction as a result of that. So, let's give them their 1 HP base of influence on Planet BU. I'll go ahead and insert it right here. I know, the spreadsheet, you get mad at me every time I do that. But that's alright. 1 HP later, this base of influence has been established. That completes their goal, taking them up by 1 XP. The other thing they're going to be doing then is revising the charts. Their C's also progresses to 2 out of 3. So the TL of Yakia, one of the planets central into their system right up here, is currently TL3. They're going to be raising that up to TL4. It is an auto success from the constellation bonus to do such a thing. Their constellation bonus is something insane, like a plus 11 or 9, but it's a D10. Regardless, this is a trivial thing for them to complete. So we won't make a roll, we will just go ahead and increase the tech level of the planet for them, taking it up to TL4. Congratulations to them. That means the only faction left to act this turn is the White Whale, who we should double check their rules. So the White Whale, on its turn, it was entirely undisturbed. The lure was unsuccessful. So it is going to roll a d10 to determine if it should take the heal portion of its action or gain stealth. So let's roll a d10 for the whale. That is a 2, so that is an even result, meaning that the whale will heal. When the whale heals, it, I believe, gains a... Ooh, did I not move that into this? That's hilarious. Yeah. I don't I don't see it in the centralized rules. Wow. I don't know how I missed that. That's pretty funny. I believe it's a D3 plus 1. And is it at the top? Am I just blind? Okay, it's on it in the actual centralized rules. It's on the first page, but apparently it didn't get transferred into this document correctly. Then I'm trying to use my all of my rules are in one document page. Let me go find that other document. Do you have the link easily available? I don't have it open. And I refuse to open my Google Drive on stream because that only ends poorly and I show some document I'm not supposed to. But thanks. Yeah, okay, it's listed here, but it didn't get transferred into that other document. So 1d3 minus 1 HP. D3 minus 1 is 2 HP. It gets to heal up. A whole 2 HP. That takes it up to 5 HP instead of being at 3. Thank you. So, that's the white whale's turn. We should make a note for what it did. And I should, add it here before I forget. So it took this action. Result 2 even yield D3 minus 1, 2 HP. Congratulations to the white whale. Let's go ahead and sort these by the correct turn order they've occurred in this turn. And that will wrap up going through all of our faction actions then in for this turn. Let me just double check that that is in fact correct. Yep, that's the last of the actions I've say we have. So we need to roll for the Bleed Temple. I'm now going to be rolling, rather than a D10, I believe I'm rolling a D11. Yep, a D11 for all of the available factions. So let's roll that and see which faction gains. Oh, that's funny. The Tellus Council gains a distorted lens asset. Congratulations to them. I suppose as a faction that needs an asset, they are the one that perhaps most qualifies under that that marker. And this is a distorted lens. It spawns in on the planet of Lagan, as usual. So, congratulations to the Tellus Council for earning such an asset. It has Purchase Sickness, and it should be at 6 HP, and this should be at 4. Fantastic! That awards the Distorted Lens asset as appropriate. So that will wrap up that portion of the things. And it has been pointed out there's a question of if the Tellus Council can own assets outside of its planet. I don't think there's any restriction to that. But I can double check. Must be on a planet that contains ruins. Asset caps are relieved from health. Assets belonging are unable to leave the planet. I don't think this asset left the planet, and apparently I chose the word leave as in the rules. So at this moment, I believe it is valid for the council to receive this asset. It is a faction, it was not at its force cap, and the asset did not take an action to leave Telos. So I believe it is totally fine. The council is, of course, welcome if they wish to trade that asset away or, scrap it, but they would have to pay 1 faction credit to scrap a distorted lens asset or figure out some other method of their own choosing to handle that asset. But I believe it is valid for them to own it. So, thank you for the question, though. Right, other things to announce. I'm actually going to flip the order that I have these in my notes and go ahead and announce the document I'm looking at right now, which you can see on stream. Congratulations to all of those. This document and the link has actually already been shared with faction representatives and Mechanics Council for about the past month. And I know some of them have distributed it back to the factions, as is totally fine. This is a centralized rule document. You may notice it is relatively long. That is because this document is intended to be a complete overview of what the faction turn is, the rules we're using, so pulls in the information from Stars Without Numbers as appropriate. It reorganizes some things to hopefully make it more logical. The first portion of this document mostly goes over the rules, so it outlines what a faction is, what their turn looks like, what stats they have, income, what actions factions can take. It specifies a list of free actions that assets take. There's a little section here on any specific rules resolutions, so advantage, disadvantage, the asset cap, how defending works, how dealing no damage gets worked, the clarifications for movement. These are all present here. This is mostly just a condensed version of the 14 pages of edits. A lot of those got to be merged into other sections where I have just changed the wording to begin with of how things work, but it all matches for the vast majority of things to the rules documents that had previously been discussed. There is a couple of big line item changes in this that have been integrated. The biggest ones to point out is that in following with some of the changes for World Without Numbers, the refit action and the buy action have been combined into one to reduce the number of times when people try to forget of when the buy requirements are needed for refit. So it is now one action. You can trade in an existing asset to receive a discount equal to the purchase price trade-in. If the asset is damaged, however, the HP is not repaired automatically. You could choose to repair it at the time of trade-in for the equivalent price of the repair action added into the purchase cost. So that's sort of the big change there, is that you no longer just sort of create new HP by refitting an asset, but I didn't get rid of the ability to do it. You just have to pay a little bit extra for it, and it's all under the buy action. There's including some information here on how prices and discounts work, giving a full walkthrough example for that. Bases of influence have been clarified with their word choice that they can now have damage soaked on either an attacker or defender. It's actually unclear to me if that was a change, just happened the way it was written to this document, it got transferred over, resulted in that being the case. So it was pointed out that that should just be called out as a change in case it is a clarification to people. There is an addition of a new goal, pulling again from World Without Numbers. There's this root out to the enemy goal, which is now destroy a base of influence of a rival faction at a specific location. The difficulty awards you the rounded up average of your rival's faction stat line divided by 2. So if a faction stat line adds up to 13, we divide that in half. That gives us 6.5. We round up, that gives 7. Excuse me, no, that's the average. There's another divided by 3 there. So if all of the stats add up to 13, we divide by 3. That gives us 4 point something. Then we round up, so we make that 5, and then you half that number for the XP. So essentially half of the Planetary Seizures goal XP award. So that's how that works out in the new goal. It is new, so figured that should be called out, but we're pulling from World Without Numbers there, so Kevin Crawford approved goal design TM. There's also some clarifications on assets statuses. So the protected status for bolt holds got a full write-up as to what protected means. This way it can also be used in other cases without having to have all of these asterisks that say, look at the bolt holds asset for details. The other thing that has been added is there is both a contesting status and a seizing status, so that we can appropriately track on the spreadsheet when an asset is seizing, so we know that it can't move off the planet. And then we have contesting, so we know that a planetary seizure is still being contested, and by which assets, because assets arriving after the trigger cannot gain that status. So it's important to track it on the planets appropriately. The short link for rules.unrestricted therefore has not been updated yet, but I will be getting to that shortly after sometime this evening when I go through and double check that the map is still all working. So that hyperlink will be updated. Until then, there is the link is available in the Mechanics Council or the Faction Reps channel, and I will share it more publicly in the Discord updates once I get it all updated. So that's the sort of big announcement with this rules document. It also includes some other information that is perhaps less relevant to actually playing the game immediately, but I've added in all of our creation rules that we used for building up the world. There's a section for the environmental systems, so if you're interested in knowing more about the outline of the Telesterra group than what was just discovered by play, but sort of how I had structured my notes beforehand for what I was following, that's all been written up here, as well as all of the different voting proposals. The ruins are covered in this section as well. Councils have their own heading. All of the quests have been added into here, so that they have their own section as well. And then I'm going to be adding in some information about actually running the game. Some of this is still to do, as you can see, but like how to actually run the game, expectations, how would you use the spreadsheet appropriately, and what did the different pages mean. There'll be a write-up on the map, there'll be a write-up on how the game is actually run from a multiplayer standpoint. There's a section on how would we recommend setting up a Discord. So the intent for this is to be something that is truly a document that could be handed off as to somebody who wanted to set this up on their own. Here's an inspiration and set of instructions for essentially what we followed. So this is in progress. As always, if there are more mechanical changes that get made, they'll be announced as appropriate in the updates, but I'm not particularly going to make an update when I say, like, oh, I filled out this section here for the Discord setup with, a write-up of the different roles that are added. I'll just be adding that as we go, and as I have time to come in and complete those sections, but none of the mechanical sections will change without an announcement, as that would be quite rude. Speaking, though, of mechanical announcements, I do have one. We have a new faction quest to announce, and it will be making its way into the centralized rule document in just a little bit of time. I'll copy it over this afternoon as well, but the Larkspur Combine are getting to start their own faction quest, the Mossian Civil War. The basis of this outline is very similar to the Assembled Commonwealth Civil War. They'll be building up a pool of d6s of different colors, black, gray, white, where each die represents to the number needed to roll a success on that die, as the two sides of the Civil War build up dice. At the end, when the faction chooses to complete the Civil War, which requires at least 8 turns passing, these dice pools will be rolled off and successes compared to figure out what the success margin in one sides of the Civil War is. One useful thing is the Larkspur Combine already know what they would like their reward to be, so it's been fully written out rather than having the sort of to-be-determined reward. They're going to be taking the Bleed Academy or Psychic Academy faction tag as their additional faction tag, and this quest will also result in a change of their world tag for free, changing Civil World to the Bleed Academy tag. So this will get added over into the centralized rules document that I was just sharing in just a moment, but they have started a faction quest, and they'll be able to get started on that next turn. So that that writes up their quest, and I'm happy for any other faction that hasn't had a quest. Again, you can reach out to me, and maybe we can get one worked out. So, one final set of announcements to do, as the turn stretches just over an hour here, is I'm going to go ahead and complete these on turn, given the information is into me now, and otherwise it'll be a few days before I get a chance to announce it because of just getting things into the Discord updates appropriately. But we have 3 new factions joining the Tellus Council. So the Assembled Commonwealth, Tahora Fayi, and Aguamala Syndicate are joining the council. So that now raises the membership count of the Tellus Council up to 5 members. They've all indicated which stats they would like to increase. The council stats will be increasing as appropriate at the start of their turns, but I'll go over those in just 1 second, how we're going to handle that. I'm going to go charge these factions appropriately for joining. So the Tahora Fayi are down to 1 faction credit, the Aguamala Syndicate goes down to 21 faction credits, and the Assembled Commonwealth goes down to 3 faction credits. As a result of that, the Tellus Council gains 2 from each of them, so that takes the Tellus Council up to 13 faction credits. So the factions combined have chosen to raise the cunning score of the Tellus Council each. Aguamala Syndicate and Assembled Commonwealth chose additionally to raise wealth, and the Tahora Fayi is raising force. So on turn 28, the Tellus Council will increase to a 2-3-3. And then on the following turn, they will increase to a 4-4-4 or a 2-4-4, and then afterwards that final cunning increase will be applied on the 3rd turn out, as each stat can only be increased once each turn. So these upgrades will bank and just apply automatically. I'll keep track of it on itself, but if the council would like to add it appropriately to their turn orders just to help keep us all straight, I would not be opposed to that. But those are the upgrades, so I'm going to go ahead and actually just add those in this note here so that we know what they are adding. We get a total of +3 to cunning, +2 wealth, and +1 force, applied over the next 3 turns. It doesn't like it because it thinks that's a formula, but I'll just have to get rid of the leading plus. That's fine. That way we now have a note for how that gets applied. Fantastic. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in for the faction turn. I hope you've enjoyed. Of course, if you have any questions about any of the new announcements, all the details will be going up into the Discord server, into the Faction Turn updates channel shortly after the stream, after I get a chance to grab a late lunch. And I'll get all of those updates in there so you all can follow along. To the 3 factions that have joined the Tellus Council, I will be adding you in to the channels as appropriate this afternoon as well, so congratulations to that. But we will be seeing what progress gets made there. So, yeah, I think that's it for this faction turn then. Yep, that looks like it. So thanks everyone for tuning in to the faction turn today. I hope you've enjoyed and learned quite a bit about what's been going on mechanically. We had quite a few fun combats that took place. I was not expecting to roll out all 4 of the Children of the Veins attacks, but indeed I ended up having to do so, so that's quite fun. And of course, we will have to see what happens to this white whale that is currently hanging out on Dine, but a little bit healthier than it was previously. I don't have the exact dates available at this moment for the For the next faction turn. I'll be figuring those out in just a second, though. Did I miss somebody joining the council? 1 second, let me double check my notes. I may not have ended up adding it appropriately. Oh, yep. Okay, I did miss one. It didn't end up in my notes. That is my bad. Thank you for the catch. So, the Larkspur Combine have also joined the council. That is, apologies on my behalf. They, I didn't transfer that into my notes into this section. So they are going to be adding cunning and wealth as well. But let's go complete this, and then I will finish my sign-off. So Larkspur Combine goes down to a balance of 6. Takes the council up to 15, and let's go add them here. And then update the notes. It's now 3 wealth, 4 cunning. Fantastic. So, yep, apologies about that to the Larkspur Combine. But it has been fixed. Right, well, thanks everyone for tuning in for Faction Turn 27. I will see you in, hopefully, a few weeks for Faction Turn 28 and the lore stream in the meantime. I do know there is a Beacon Space rediscovery episode planned for January 23rd. Maybe you caught episode 1 this Monday, but episode 2 will be airing on the 23rd. You'll get to come see what myself, Demeist, and Interfriend get up to in exploring the fringes of Beacon Space's undiscovered sectors. With that, though, thanks for tuning into this Faction Turn. I've been Xavier Stordes for Unrestricted Lore Affairs Beacon Space. Was that episode 2? I guess it was, wasn't it? However, episode 3 then! I can't count, as has been proven multiple times in this faction turn, apparently. Either way, perhaps I will go regain some semblance of being able to count and do math. We'll see what happens then. But I will see you all in not too long of a time, it seems like. But thanks for that. I'll leave you with some fun tunes on the outro as we head that way, and have a good rest of your evenings. Bye!